So here we are, part three of our four-part saga, if you will, or four-part tournament. I made a commitment to show every single hand, including hands that I folded, and oh boy, yeah, it's a lot of editing, but that's okay. I've got things to keep me focused, and I have a next week off before the meetup game. Which, speaking of which, our meetup game is in February. We have one next week, as a matter of fact. We also have a meetup game in March and one in April, as well as one in May, all at the Venetian. And we will be doing a 10-10 live stream at the Venetian. I believe it's the last Friday of every month. And that's going to be a good mix of PLO 4, Big O, which is 5-card high-low. I have to specify that for all my Texas friends because Texas is the only place in the entire world where 5-card Omaha or Big O is considered 5-card Omaha high. And their explanation is because it's Texas. So I guess we'll just explain to the world, though. We're going to be playing 5-card PLO high-low, 4-card high, and then an orbit of $20 double board bomb pots. Plus, we're going to have a $20 small blind jackpot or the mushroom game, which is super fun. And yeah, it's gonna be some good action. So with our lineup, it should be great. Now, hopefully, I don't punt off and lose too much. Hopefully, I do well. But yeah, hopefully you guys can tune in. It's at the Venetian Poker Live. Here's their tag, and then it's also going to be on Poker Go, which their tag is right here as well. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Again, these longer content format videos. Somebody was playing with me in Texas, and they said, "Man, people will just listen to you like while they drive to work or they drive to the card house," and because some people will recognize me by my voice, but not by my looks, which is perfectly fine. But he was just giving me some shit, and he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe somebody would want to listen to you for a whole hour." Well, that's kind of how long these videos are when you do every single hand. And if you guys have questions about specific hands, why I folded, or ask me. If I remember, I'll be able to give you an answer. But yeah, this video, we started off, I believe, 13 left. And we get down to 5, and there's one more video, which means we either bust out real soon or we make a deeper run than 5th. And what's funny is yeah, this is a lot of editing, but I'm glad that I'm glad that I'm doing this because I don't think I'm going to do it again. Yeah, every single hand is not something I'm going to do again. So I hope you guys appreciate it. If I do a tournament, it'll just be the highlight ones, not every single hand. But I had some of you guys request every single hand since I did that in Big O. And that was every hand that I played, including hands where I just folded straight to the flop, or include any hand that I had chips in play. So small blind and big blind I always showed. And then anytime I put chips in the pot, even if I folded right away on the flop or got 3-bet, I showed those. So if I do another one that's lengthy, it'll be probably that. But even that's pretty lengthy. But yeah, this does give you an idea of how much of a grind these tournaments are. And this takes us all the way up to dinner break. So we had restart, I believe, was at 1 o'clock. Oh no, I was talking to Charles. Restart was at 11 o'clock. So we had an early restart in the morning. I got hardly any sleep. I remember that, less than 3 hours of sleep because I was dealing with some Airbnb customer service issues. And then, yeah, we didn't get done until like, I think it was like 1 in the morning, So, I mean, these are long sessions, like, especially when a lot of final tables, you play 5-6 handed, for an hour or two before something pops. And so they're good learning lessons too. But I hope you guys appreciate them. I'm putting my hard work and soul into these just to make $4 on a video. But In all seriousness, I appreciate all of you guys. Somebody did ask me, they said, oh my God, that's a cool shirt you have there with the 10 Commandments of Pot Limit Omaha. If you go on the Etsy store, which is down in the description, that's one way you can support the channel. Plus, I wrote a book called How Not to Get Scooped, which covers all split pot games, including double board bomb pots, Big O, as well as all the draw split pot games. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and let's see how we do in this one, eh? So play smart, run like a god. So we are on part 3 of 4. We're under the gun. There's 13 of us left. 7-9 Jack King with the suited 9 Jack of Spades is a fold. In the big blind, when we look down at 5-6-8 King with the 5-8 of Hearts, this, again, is another fold. Now we're going to be in the small blind, and we look at a premium. There's 12 people left. Premium hand alert, big pot alert, ace, 6-9. So we have no suited aces, but again, when the blind levels are 10,000, 15,000, and we have a starting stack of 130,000, basically, what is that, 8.5 bigs? We are going to run with any pocket aces. So when somebody opens, I repot it. He asks me how much I have left. I tell him it's 120 so far, and I tell him I do have 10 behind, so I don't have any fold equity. And he decides he's going to look us up after much deliberation, and we're going to see what we have to sweat here. Let's go to it. Let's see if we can hold. Oh boy. No. One thing I'll point out is notice how much I had to sweat that. Even on the turn, I was only 60-some%. But yeah, we end up doubling up with aces, so we're glad for that. Now that we've got a little bit of breathing room, we look down at 4-5-9 Jack on the button. Somebody opens ahead of us, so we're going to lay this one down. I like that it's double suited in position, but not when somebody opens. Now we're in the cutoff. We're going to look down at 6 Jack King with the suited King Jack of Hearts. And these are hands where if it folds to me, I don't mind opening, but when somebody else opens, this is going to be a laydown with 13 left. In the hijack, 6-9, 10-10. Again, somebody opens to us, so we muck. Going on to the next hand, now we're looking down at Ace, King, Jack 3, double suited. This is a premium hand. This is something that I do like. We have 3 cards to Broadway. We're double suited, so we elect to raise. Now, it's important when you're playing a tournament, you vary your raise sizes. So when I do a full pot size bet, it should signify a lot of strength to my opponent. The one gentleman who does call me is in the cutoff, and the 2 blinds are going to think on it for a little bit, but they're going to end up folding, and we're going to go heads up to a flop. But when you do have premium hands like this, you should be coming in for full pot size raises. If I had something like Jack, King 3 double suited, I'd probably make it probably around 40,000 or so. So you do vary your raises by the strength of your hand. And when the flop comes all diamonds, ace deuce 6, this is a hand that I decided to play a little tricky with. I'm going to try giving my opponent a little bit of rope because I'm never folding. I have a 1.5 SPR. I check it, he checks it behind. So my plan did not work. Turn puts out an ace of hearts. Now, in this situation, I think it's just best to bet. Let's get the hand over with. If he does have an ace, he's going to call. Everything else, he's going to fold. So I bet pot, and he folds. So I don't mind picking up a pot there. Now we're looking down in the big blind, and we're going to look down at another premium. We're going to look down at ace 10, queen deuce. Again, we're double suited. We have 3 Broadway cards. Blinds are 10,000, 15,000. We're on level 20. So these are the types of hands that you do want to have regardless of what position you're in. Yeah, we're going to see what happens here because this is a hand that I'm not going to go anywhere with no matter what somebody raises with. So looks like there's a raise already ahead of us, and we could 3-bet here. I mean, we are sitting with 25 bigs, but I think we're just going to like to call. So we make the call. It's 50,000 pre. We're going to go heads up to the flop, and the flop is 9 of spades, 3 of spades, 7 of diamonds. Ooh, we have backdoor nut diamonds. We have a spade draw. Let's play this a little on the safe side. Check, check. Okay, that means they probably don't have much equity. Now that I see the 5 of diamonds and I'm essentially drawing to half the board, and if he had a straight draw, I think he would have bet it. I'm just going to lead out and pot it here. I pot it, he folds, we scoop. You know, it's nice to get back-to-back premiums and to pick up 2 pots, even though they aren't huge pots. You can see that the stack size starts to increase quite dramatically when the blinds are this big. So in the small blind, we look down at ace 10 5-7 with the suited 5-7 of spades. Now, you can say here we're sitting at, what, about 25 bigs or so, give or take a little bit. So hands like this is something that I will play if it's a raise, depending on the opponent. But honestly, everybody folds to us, and we're in the small blind. This is a hand that's good enough to see a flop heads up with. So I go ahead and make the call, the limp. It's only an extra 5,000 to me to see a flop. So I mean, you figure there's already 40,000 in the pot. So I mean, you're getting 8-1 on your money. Your range on the small blind should be a little bit wider when everybody's folding to you and you're in a situation like this. So the flop comes Jack 4-5 with 2 hearts. We have a pair of 5s. We have some equity here. I'm just going to play it a little safe. Just check it. I mean, see what my opponent does. He checks behind. Going to the turn, 3 of diamonds. Well, now we have like a gut shot straight draw. I'm not too excited about this board. I'm just going to check it again, see if I can realize my equity, hoping for a deuce or a 6. 10. 10's okay. 10 gives us a little bit more equity. The way this hand's played, there's no reason to bet. I check, he checks, and our 2 pair is good. And my friends, is what we call found money. Anytime you can pick up a pot, checking it all the way down, I'll take it. On the button, 4 Jack, Queen, King, complete rainbow. Somebody opens ahead of us, so we're going to lay this one down. Now that we're looking in the cutoff, we're going to look down at a decent hand. I shouldn't say decent, but in my books, it's a premium. King, King, Deuce, 9 in the cutoff, in late position. This is a hand that I do like playing quite a bit if there's no raise to us. If there's a raise to us, I'll still play it, but I'll play it a little bit tighter. So there is a raise to us for 55,000. I like to make the call. I'm in position with a suited king. I don't like the deuce, but I do like the fact that the deuce is suited. Gets back to the button. Button's going in the tank. Keep in mind, we're down to, I believe, like 12 at this point. And the button, he likes to make the call. All right, well, I don't have position anymore, but we're going to see a flop and proceed from there. Let's see what happens, because we're in decent shape, and we're going multi-way to a flop late in the tournament. So, oh my, now we get another caller. So we're going, what is it, 3 ways, 4 ways to the flop? Yeah, we're going 4 ways to the flop here. Big blind ended up calling, and the flop is deuce 10-10. Well, I mean, we weren't the original raiser. We have an overpair. Checks to us. I'm going to check behind, hoping that we can just get to the turn. Now, the button, he decides to think, and I was watching this guy for quite a bit. I had a pretty decent read on him, or at least I thought I had a pretty decent read on him. When he made bets the way he's going to make this bet, just look at his hands. Every time he did this, he had a really good hand. And normally I don't tell people's tells, but when he sits there and he quickly grabs the chips after going in the tank for a while and then throws it out there, he bets 75,000. It's actually going to fold around to us, and we're just going to muck this one. I don't know. Let me know if that was just too tight of a fold. I mean, we were 4 ways. I don't know. Live reads, I believe, still exist in poker, especially in tournaments, and sometimes you just got to go with your live read. Now we're in the hijack, 3, 6, 7, 10. This is not a premium. We're going to lay this one down. In the low jack, we're going to look down at 7, 7, ace, 9. We're going to end up mucking this one. We are still at 420, and we're at a new table. Let's just take a gander at the chip stacks. We have Gabe's stack. New content creator, everybody. Give a shout out to Gabe. Woohoo! Gabe is a regular on the circuit, so he's a known quantity. We look down at 4, 8, 9 queen. We're going to muck this one, and we're on the final table. Final table. It's our, what did I get, 8th in the mixed PLO? Or no, I got 8th in the triple stud. So technically, I guess this is our first final table. About time. You know what? Better save the best for last. So we got 21-20 locked up. First place is 21-790. 6, which is 4,500, gets us unstuck for the trip. So Goal number 1, final table accomplished. Goal number 2, let's get 6th or better. Goal number 3, top 3. Goal number 4, first. Let's see how many goals we can hit. We have 420 going into the final table. Average chip stack 700K, so 6.3 million. We're redrawing. Gabe is the chip leader. We got everybody's in the mix. Yeah, there's like one guy who's got like 170 or 200. That's like the lowest stack. So everybody's gonna have like 12, at least 15, call it 15 bigs. So let's see what we can do. All right, let's look at the chip stacks. Oh boy, that means we're gonna have Gabe on our direct left. Fun. And he's got 1.6. Now, it's important when you make any final table that you know what your chip stack is and what everybody else's chip stacks are. I mean, even when you're not at a final table, you should know that, but it's a little bit more important at a final table because it affects how people play the game. So there's a total of 6.8 million chips in play. Gabe has about 1.6 of that, and we're starting off with 400K. So we are deep stacked with 10, 15K blinds, but we want to pick our spots wisely, if you will. So when we're in the big blind, we look down at King, Queen, 4, 6 with 3 hearts. This is not exactly a premium hand. Somebody opens ahead of us, and we're just going to lay this one down. Now we're in the small blind, and we look down at 5, 8, 9 jack with a suited jack high of spades. Now, will admit that I love middling cards. When there's a lot of middle cards, I tend to play a lot of them. Now, since I'm in the small blind and I've already got 10,000 in, and it's only an extra 5 to call, I like to call. Now, we are going to go 3 ways to a flop. And, you know, this is a hand where if I don't flop a lot of equity, I'm just going to get rid of it. Flops King, 6-3, complete rainbow. So we have not really too many draws here. We have backdoor spades. Oh boy, the camera tips over. My apologies on that. That happens from time to time. Since I'm recording everything here, I'm just letting you guys know how everything goes. But when it checks around, turn comes an 8. All right, now I have a gut shot straight draw, you know, with a 5-9. It does not give me the nuts, and I have a pair, but I'm not loving this hand. Nope, this is, I'm planning on folding. I mean, 4 ways. You know, somebody could easily have like 5, 7, 9. Of course, somebody bets. They bet 20,000. You know, it's a small bet. The even 6s and 8s, they're ahead. And when somebody else calls, we're just done with this hand. We move on. Now, being on the final table, you know, I'm definitely not going to go down without swinging. So there are going to be some hands that I'm going to open up a little bit more. Might show a little bit more aggression. Because, again, now that I know we're down to the final 9, I just know I have to maneuver. And the fact that I've got about 400K and the blinds are 10K, 15K, you know, that is a decent amount, but it's only 25 bigs, so I am one of the shorter stacks on the table. So when I'm on the button, I look down at Ace, King, 6, 7. This is a hand that I like to raise to 35,000. It's been folded to me. This is pretty, I guess, GTO. If there is a GTO chart for final tables at tournaments. What you will find, the more and more you play tournaments and the deeper you get, is hands that have Ace-King plays really well, heads up. Because you get called a lot by like Ace-Queen or Ace-Jack, or some nature of that. And a lot of times your kicker is going to play a lot more. And that is because in late stages of Parliament Omaha tournaments, you're playing a lot of hands heads up. So in this board, when I get called by the button and the flop comes Jack, King, 4, all diamonds, I check when he checks to me. Now the turn puts out a 3 of diamonds. I'm not liking this. I mean, really all I have is Ace, King. Any 2 pair beats me. I do have a gut shot straight draw, but he likes to bet, and he puts out a wager of 50,000 chips. Now when he does that, I'm not liking it. I'm done with this hand. I fold. Now I'm in the cutoff, and I'm down to about 340,000 or so. Yeah, so I've got about 22 bigs. When you get this deep in a tournament, you start looking at your stack as bigs. And we do have somebody who raises ahead of us, and we're in the cutoff, and we look down at 5, 6, 8, 9 double suited. A one-gapped rundown in position. I'm calling this raise. He ended up doing a full pot size bet, so I end up calling. And yeah, this is a hand that late in the tournament, I mean, when you see the pots 120 and I've got 320, I have about a 3-to-1 SPR, about a 2.5-to-1 SPR. So if I hit a flop, I'm going to run with it. If I whiff the flop, I can just get rid of it. And so yeah, it's a hand that can be very, very good, very bad. Flop is 3 of spades, 4 of spades, 5 of hearts. Now we are 3 ways going into this flop, and the original raiser is the guy with the blue shirt. He likes to bet 50,000. Well, you can't play this hand and not just run with this hand. Like if you play this hand and the flop comes out 3, 4, 5 with 2 spades, I have top pair, an open-ended straight draw. I have a flush draw. If he's just betting a flush draw, I have some blockers. Yeah, we're just going to run with it. We put out a pot-sized bet. You know, we do need to make some moves in order to have a chance to win the tournament. Folds around to him. He elects a call. Let's see what we got to sweat. He has me in about the worst shape he could. He has an overpair with spades, so we need 2 pair or straight. All right.
Well, need a 2 pair or straight. 2 pair. Blank. Red. The straight.
And with all those outs, we still only had a 42% chance. You just never know in pot limit Omaha. Sometimes you can get it all in and each player has about the same equity. Finally, we got some big momentum going our way. Now we're almost up to the chip average. We're a little bit above chip average. But right now we're about third in chips. So we're glad we're making the climb. No one's busted yet. But we look down at 4-5-9 queen in the hijack. There's a player who opens ahead of us, and we let fold this one. In the low jack, we look down at 3-5 king 10 rainbow, and this is an easy fold. Next, we take a peek over here at under the gun +2. We look down at 4 hearts, 10-10 king. Now, had the king been suited, maybe I play this, but not going to play this quite yet. Not still 9-handed. Look down at 3-4-10-10. I feel like the 10s are really teasing me now. Under the gun +1, this is a fold as well. Now, under the gun, here's something you don't see every day. A suited ace, under the gun, ace 4, 6, 10. This is a fold at this point. I know that sounds weird, but bear with me. The blinds have gone up. We're at level 21, 10K, 20K. We're in the big blind. And when I say bear with me, now that we're third in chips, we want to start targeting small stacks. And we don't want to get in a hand with like ace 10 high, even if it's a suited ace, where we might come in for a raise and somebody 3-bets us. So that's part of the reason why we folded under the gun with the suited ace. It might be a little different depending on what everybody else's stack sizes were, what ours were. But in the big blind, king, queen, queen, 6 with the suited queen 6 of hearts. Somebody else decides to open here, and we're going to go ahead and make the defend. I mean, this is not a hand that I'm going to fold with. They ended up making it 50,000. So for me, it's an extra 30,000, or maybe they made it 55. But I'm definitely going to see a flop here. And the flop comes out complete gin for us. Ace, 10, jack, rainbow. And we're sitting there with Broadway. Now we have pocket queens. We do want to get some value, so we elect to check. If our opponent did raise something with pocket aces, and he happens to be one of the tight players on the table, so pocket aces are well within his range, he would still bet here. He bets 20,000. Now this is such a small bet. I'm debating on raising or just flatting. I think because it's so small, I end up raising because it just looks weak. And if he does have aces and he's trying to trap and looks weak, then we're going to get it all in here. But I check raise to 140,000. He goes in the tank for a little bit. Maybe he had 2 pair, but he ends up laying this one down. Still, I'll take any pot I can pick up at the final table. Now we're going to look down in the small blind, 3-3-9-9 with the suited 9-3 of clubs. Hands like these could be tempting, but they end up costing you a lot of chips. 5-9 jack queen, all diamonds or 3 diamonds. This is going to go in the muck.
Oh, we have accomplished goal number 2. There is 6 left. We are officially unstuck for this goddamn trip after 12 days. Woohoo! We're unstuck. We're free rolling. Wayne, we're unstuck. We're unstuck. We're unstuck for the trip. Woo.
Yes, after 12 days of grinding, I am now guaranteed at least some profit being down here in Miami. It's quite a relief. Now with 6 players left, you do get a little bit more aggressive when you have hands like Ace King. So here we have Ace King Deuce 6 double suited. I'm in the cutoff. It folds to me, so I'm going to open. I open to 60,000, 3x the big blinds, and we pick up both the small and big. Now again, we're down to 6-handed, and we look down at quite a premium here. Ace Queen Jack 5 with a suited jack of clubs. We have 3 to Broadway. We like to raise it to 50,000, and again, everybody's going to fold to us, and we're going to pick up the blinds. Again, we're picking up pots, and that's a good thing. All right, now we are under the gun. We look down at 5-9 Jack Queen with 3 hearts. This is an easy fold. In the big blind, we are going to look down at Ace 10 Jack 3 with a suited Jack High hearts. Now, this is one of those hands where I don't mind defending in the big blind if it's a min raise, like, you know, the blind levels are 10 and 20, so somebody could open for 70, but if somebody opens for like 50, I'll probably end up calling, but Under the Gun decided to open for a full pot size bet, so we're going to let this one go. And yes, you should use your best judgment on pre-flop raises on what your opponent's ranges will tend to be, so somebody doing a full pot size bet signifies, again, strength. Here we're in the small blind. We look down at 3-6-6 Jack. Not a very good quality hand, but we are in the small blind. We have a couple limpers. You know, it's basically 10,000 to win 80,000 or another 70,000. So because you flop a set about 1 out of every 7 times or 7.5 times, and I'm getting about 7 to 1 odds, I decide to call. You know, there's an easy argument for making a fold here. I don't blame you. Flop comes King, Queen, 8. Kind of expected that I wasn't going to flop much here unless it was going to be specifically a 6. But I check, somebody else decides to bet, and we're done with this hand. You know, it's funny. Sometimes you can look back at specific hands and you can say, you know, if I went a little bit crazier, I could have easily busted out of the tournament. And actually that has happened quite a few times. On the very beginning stages of day 2, I ended up folding kings with the suit pre-flop. Here I look down at one of my favorite hands, 9-10 Jack Queen with a suited queen. We have a raise. Now the player to my right, she happens to be a very high stakes, high quality, no limit hold'em pro. She's very recognizable. I won't say what her name was because she asked me not to, but she's a very good player, another pro, but she's used to playing high stakes, no limit hold'em. So believe it or not, I want to get involved in a lot of pots with her. I know that might sound weird, but I think she's trying to target me as a fish. So look at this hand. We flop a complete wrap with a pair of 10s. 9 Jack Queen, Ace 7. These are all my outs. I'm going to make a wager here. I bet about half pot, about 70,000 into 150,000. This looks very target value heavy as well as draw heavy. So she could be putting me on a set of 10s. She could be putting me on exactly this hand that I have, 9 Jack Queen. She makes the call. And I don't mind the call there. I have a lot of equity in this hand. Now, when the turn comes the 5 of spades, I'm thinking I can either bomb the turn, represent a set of 10s, or I can check the turn, depending on how she plays it. Now, again, I want to get involved in a lot of pots with her. And again, I know that sounds weird. It's not because she's a female. It's because her main game is not Pot Limit Omaha. When I look at the other players at the table, I recognize all of them. And I don't think she recognizes me either, so advantage me. So we check and go to see a river. River's a 6 of clubs. Now, this is one of those situations where I could bet full pot. If I'm going to bluff at it, looking back at it, she checks. I don't think I'm going to win with a pair of 10s. The only hand that I really beat is if she has something like my hand with Ace, Queen, Jack, 10. But any king beats me here, so I figured if she does have just a dry king, maybe she's got King, Queen, Jack, 9, I can get her off the hand. So I decided to bet 140. It looks like I've got a value hand like a set of 10s. That's what I want her to think, and give her respect. She tanks a little bit and then calls me, and she had King 8, so she ends up winning this one. But our battle will be continued, and just stay tuned. It'll probably be in part 4. I don't know. I decided to go for it there. I figured about 50% of the time she's calling me, 50% of the time she's folding, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was just donking off. I mean, King 8, obviously I was just targeting one king. Had I known she had 2 pair, I don't think I would have bet, because I probably would have called if I was in her spot too, even against the pot size bet. But moving right along, again, you have to be a quarterback in some situations. We're in the cutoff. We look down at Queen, Queen, 3-3. Again, we got our boxing gloves on, so we're not going to go anywhere here. Matter of fact, we're just going to raise it up. We're going to be the aggressor in this one. It's folded to us. So we make it 50,000. Again, six-handed, so it's not like we're on a nine-handed or 10-handed table. But we're going to end up going heads up to a flop. And the flop is going to come out pretty decent for us. King, Jack, 3. Look at that. We flop bottom set, and we're blocking all straight draws. So the hands that are going to call me here are going to be like King, Jack, XX, which I love. The other hands that are going to be calling me here are going to be some kind of wraps. And pardon me, my opponent checks, and I'm not going to slow play this. I decide to bet 80,000. It's about a 2/3 pot size bet. If he does have King Jack or some kind of wrap, he's going to get it in here. He ends up folding, and we pick up a decent pot. Again, at some final tables, you'll see some people who will just avoid most pots, and then some people who are boxing. I'm essentially boxing. But under the gun, we look down at 5-5-5-7. This is an easy fold. But yeah, you've got to be mixing it up a little bit, putting some jabs out for the opponents, and occasionally you got to take a hit too. But, you know, if you see somebody who's a little bit more active at a final table, you know, they're probably going for it, and that's what we're doing here. We have Ace, King, Jack, 7. Again, 3 to the Broadway. We elect to raise. We raise for 60,000 instead of the normal, like, 50,000. We're going to 3X it here. And, yeah, we're completely under the gun, and we get looked up by at least one caller. All right, now it's going around to the blinds. The blinds are going to go in the tank for a little bit. And you're going to see the blinds release, so the small blind released, and we're going to get back to the big blind. She decides to let it go as well. So now we're going to go heads up to the flop. And I'm liking a lot of flops here if they have any kind of top pair here. And in this situation, Queen, Queen, 6. Wow, we really missed this flop. And you know what? Since we are heads up, we have quote-unquote proximity blockers. We're going for it. We're just going to bet it out. We're going to bet really small. It looks like we have a queen here. We bet 35,000, the reverse Jedi trick. Somehow it gets through and they fold it. So maybe having the Ace, King, Jack around the queens has a factor in here. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Now we're in the big blind and we look down at Deuce, 6, 7, King, double suited. Now our friend to our right here, the high stakes no limit pro, she does not like to give anybody a walk, so she calls. And this is the first time I played with her in the tournament. I go ahead and call, or check, I should say. Flops 8-8 Jack. Nothing really going on here. I mean, I guess I could take a stab at it when she checks it over to me, but I'm just going to play this pretty passive. I want to pick a right spot against her, and I don't think this is it with having very little showdown value. Even when the turn comes to 6 of hearts, she hesitates, and then she bets 30K, and we're just going to let this one go. So when we look down in the small blind at Deuce 5, 6, 7, even though it's suited, this is a pretty easy fold. Now, moving right along, we're going to be on the button here. And in the button, we look down at Ace of clubs, 9 of clubs, 6 of spades, 7 of diamonds. Normally, this is a hand that I like, that I would probably open with. The problem is the person who's under the gun decided to do a full pot size raise with it. So because of that, a full pot size raise, even though we're on the button, we're playing a little tighter. Not the person I want to go against yet, so we fold. Down to 5. And I'm the shortest stack out of 5. Now we look down. Again, even though we're down to 5-handed, we do have to open it up a little bit. But under the gun, 5 of spades, Jack, Queen, King. I could raise, but I just decided to let this one go. I'm going to just pick a better spot. I am the shortest stack. So looking down at the big blind now, we have 5, 6 of clubs, Jack of hearts, 9 of diamonds. I still want to play a little bit of small ball unless I end up getting a monster hand or a monster situation. And it folds around to the small blind, and she elects to call. And I don't blame her. I mean, it's only an extra 10,000 to have 75K in the pot. So I'm going to check, play small ball back with her. Flop comes King, King, Ace with 2 clubs. She checks. I check right away, right behind. Turns the 10 of clubs. She checks. I'm going to play small ball. I check again. Rivers the Jack of diamonds. She checks, and then I bet 25K. And the challenge that she's running into is she checked and said that she had a pair of queens. And I hadn't acted yet, but I was going to bet regardless because I figured she's going to call me with some kind of straight. So she's really, I guess, kicking herself for telling me that she had a pair of queens, but I think she ended up having a straight. So she calls and we end up getting max value for this because we have a 6-high flush, which is good. Now we're going to be in the small blind, and the button decides to open for 50,000. It's a min raise, but deuce 5, 5, 9, complete rainbow. This just goes into the money. Down on the button, deuce 5, 7, 9 with the 5 high clubs. Again, not a very good quality hand, even though we're 5-handed. Fold. We're in the cutoff with the blinds being 12 and 25,000. We have a stack size of almost 800K, and we look down at a premium. King, king, ace, 8. No one opened before us, so we're going to go ahead and do a full pot size bet, and we're going to pick up the blinds. Now, under the gun, again, we're 5-handed. Ace, king, 4, 5. I kind of like this hand. I just don't like it under the gun. I can get 3-bet too easily. I'm up. Means the next hand, of course, is the big blind, and we have a starting stack of about 810,000 or so after the big blind ante. We look down at ace, jack, 5, 7. Somebody opens, and this might be a little too tight for me to fold, but I do end up folding here. Let me know what you guys think. I think it was just the right move to make. I don't know. Could be wrong. I don't know. A lot of times I just prefer being the one that's betting it versus the one that's calling it. And again, it depends on what the odds are, but for the most part, if I have an ace in my hand, I want to be the one that's being the aggressor. Other hands like this, though, 5, 5, 6, 9. I mean, we're in the small blind. We already have 15,000 committed. It's only an extra 10,000 to call. So we're going to go ahead and call. We're getting essentially 9-1 on our money because we're going to go 3 ways to the flop. Now, the flop's not going to come out that bad. Queen, deuce, 4 with 2 clubs. Now, we have a gut shot straight draw in our hand. We have a flush draw in our hand. So we elect to bet $40,000. We're betting 40 into a 100K pot. We know we're 3 ways. We're hoping that we just take it down right here. It looks like we get looked up. This is not exactly what I was looking for. And the turn is the jack of spades. Does not really improve our hand at all. So we're going to go ahead and check. We're going to see if we can get to the river card for free. My opponent does not like that idea of checking. They elect to bet 70,000 on the button. And this looks like they have some kind of combo draw, like they have a pair, maybe a pair and a bigger flush draw or a pair and a straight draw. But because we're not drawing essentially to the nuts except for a 3, I end up letting this one go. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know. When the button bet's so small there, I mean, I guess they could have total air. But if they do have a club draw there or a straight draw, I'm just not sitting pretty. So I'm on the button. I look down at 3, 7, king, 10. This one, I'm just going to fold as well. Now moving right along, we are in the cutoff, again, 5-handed. 5, 6, 9, jack. We're going to put this one in the muck. You can see here are the actual pay jumps going from 5th to 4th to 3rd to 2nd to 1st. So sometimes it makes sense to play just a little bit tighter if you can get an extra pay jump, especially when you're this deep in a tournament. And that does affect some play here, but that also means you can pick up pots too. Let's see what happens down the road. We have about 3 hands or so before break. And we look down under the gun with king, king, deuce, 7. Keep in mind, we're 5-handed here. And we have about 650K in our starting stack. So I'm going to elect to raise here. We're doing a pretty sizable raise here. And or we had 800,000 to start our stack. And now we're down to like 725. But kings, 5-handed. I'm always going to come in with a raise, especially when one of them's suited. It is a premium. If I do get 3-bet, I might be able to make a fold putting somebody on aces. Otherwise, I'm expecting some calls, maybe from the big blind. But we get not just one caller, but we're going to get 2 callers who are going to look us up. So we get the big blind, who's been pretty splashy, has played a wide variety of hands with us to our right. And then we also get the button decides to call. So I really did not expect going 3 ways to the flop here, but I guess with the right odds come out. And the flop comes 5, 6, queen of spades. Now you can see that the big blind ends up checking. What would you guys do here? Would you guys bet? Would you check? I mean, we're 3 ways into the pot. I end up checking. I'm checking for deception. I have a full plan in action that if the button ends up betting, I am going to check pot the hell out of this. I have an overpair. I have second nut spades. There's going to be a lot of hands that they're going to be betting, and I think I can apply the pressure. Now, they bet 50,000. 50,000 into a 230,000 pot looks incredibly weak. It looks like please go away. I'm obligated to bet because everybody checked. So when the button decides to muck, I put my full plan in action. I announce a pot size bet, and the dealer is a little shook, I guess, because it takes him a minute to figure it out. But it's around 420 or 425,000 or so. I announced pot without putting out my chips, but the dealer heard it loud and clear. So I stack all the chips out. The guy goes in the tank for a little bit, but I think they're just doing that just to save face. I think they might have had like 579, maybe like 5788 or something. I'm not sure, but I think applying the pressure is the right situation here. I didn't want to give them a free turn card in case they did have a hand that they can't get away with, and I love my equity against any range that they could have. So but yeah, he's going to end up folding, and we're going to take this one down. So now we're 5-handed in the big blind. Our updated chip stack is around 925,000. So we're sitting pretty right now, somewhere around 35, close to 40 bigs. We're just under that $1 million mark. And in the big blind, we look down at 5-7-8 jack with 3 diamonds. When the under the gun player decides to raise, we're going to muck this one and move on. Now we're on the button, and again, we have a good stack size here. We're a little bit above or a little bit below chip average. Again, 6.8 million, but the chip leader is Gabe. He's got about 2 million in chips or so, or maybe 1.8 million. So I'm waiting for the shorter stacks. There's 2 other shorter stacks. I'm waiting for them to get basically picked off. So when it folds around to me here, having 3 spades in my hand, we lay this one down.
We're coming back to 885 on dinner. 885, Wayne and Charles. We're in it. We're in it to get second.